guys, welcome back to Our Wyoming Life. My name is Mike, and today is another big day on the ranch as we get started moving hay in from the field. All of this hay, plus about 330 more bales are all on the way. We've got a small semi and a small semi trailer that can haul about 14 bales at a time. So that means we've got 27 loads to run. Today we're going to take a look at how much that costs to move back here into the hay yard where it's the easiest to access. We're also going to talk a little bit about how we stack it as well as how we test our hay. We're going to take a look at that as well. It's all coming up today on Our Wyoming Life. It's a beautiful day here in Northeast Wyoming as we get our hay moved into our hay yard. It's a small, about an acre and a half or so part of the ranch that we put a majority of our hay into to store until winter when we need to feed it for all the cows. Haying is completely done. This is the very last step, and hopefully this is probably one of the last videos that we'll have about haying until we start to feed this stuff this winter. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. Also, like I said, we're going to test our hay, so maybe somewhere along the line we'll get you guys the results of those hay tests as well. And today we're going to show you how we test it, and not only how we do it, but why we do it also. So Jeff is back loading up another few bales of hay out of the field that we call Jim's field. That's where most of this stuff came from. And then once he's done with that, he's going to flop to another field and start hauling that back as well. We took the time over the last couple weeks while we were, well, not even a couple weeks, last week or so, while we were letting the hay kind of, Jeff called it seasoning, but curing or drying out or whatever we're letting it do out in the field before we start stacking it together. There are a few concerns that you do have to think about when it comes to the hay. Obviously, you want it dry enough so it's not going to mold. That's one of our biggest things. This hay is super dry. This was actually out of, like I said, Jim's field, which is actually our lowest producing field. So, and we call it Jim's field because it used to belong to a neighbor of ours, Jim. We bought it from him years and years and years ago when Jim retired, so we still call it Jim's field. But anyway, probably our lowest producing field. That one only averaged a little bit under 500 pounds an acre, which was not good at all, but that's okay. We're going to test this because it is our lowest yielding field. We want to see what we're going to look like on the low end, and then we're also going to test some of our better yields to see how those look. What we're looking for is protein, a bunch of other vitamins, but that protein level is one of the big ones. We're looking for selenium, anything else that might be beneficial to cows that can change how we end up feeding them this winter when it comes to supplements, and that's what we're really testing for. So since Jeff is up there bringing that stuff down, I guess what we can do is take a look back a little bit here as we did bring in some hay earlier. We got these two stacks made, got the drone up so we could take a look at how we stack hay. Stacking hay is really not all that difficult. The big thing that we worry about is any stacks falling down. And there's a number of different ways to stack hay, from toadstool stacking, which is used in a lot of different environments, maybe where you have a lot of deer that are eating stuff. You can actually put the open end of the bale on the ground so that nothing is eating it. But then of course, if you have a lot of ground moisture, that's getting soaked up into your bale. The way we stack is actually considered a 3x2x1 pyramid. And these kind of stacks we can run as long as we want, but we usually aim for about 32 bales. I don't know why, it just looks nicer and it works out nice. So once we've got the bales on site, we can start stacking them up with the tractor, and it's pretty simple with our pyramid type of bales, or our pyramid type of stack is pretty simple to stack. We just go bales 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's our base. 7 and 8 go on top, and then you build out your base just a little bit farther with 9, 10, and 11. 12 and 13 sit on top of those ones, and finally 14 makes the top of the pyramid. You keep on doing that on your way back, and eventually you end up with a stack like this. 32 bales, 4 on top, and you know, it'll do nice. This winter, the snow actually will kind of roll off of this. The net wrap keeps the hay from getting wet. Of course, our ends here are still exposed, but not every single end is exposed. So it does tend to keep the hay a little bit fresher. We don't have any problems with keeping hay around here. Usually any type of bale will last us probably a couple years if we don't get it fed. But honestly, what we have we'll feed, and we'll start all over again next year. And when it comes to the food that we're feeding the cows, we do want to know what kind of nutrition we're giving them. So like I talked about earlier, we're looking at protein, we're looking at selenium, we're looking at any types of trace minerals that might be in this hay. I'm not expecting a whole lot out of this stuff out of Jim's field. Like I said, it was pretty much just crested wheat. It wasn't the best yield in the world. There wasn't a whole lot of variety. There wasn't a whole lot of alfalfa, not a whole lot of anything in there. But we do want to make sure we test it so that we know what we're dealing with when it comes to our cattle. So to do that, we use this thing, and this looks like either a medieval torture device or something that a really, really sadistic proctologist would use. But this is our hay core sample getter thingy. It's pretty easy to use. All you have to do is find yourself a bale, which this year isn't hard, thankfully. Once we've got a bale chosen, this thing actually is just one big solid tube that locks into the chuck of your drill. It's got kind of like teeth on the end there that you can see, and as we move it into the bale, the entire tube fills up with a sample. So usually try to do it from the side, and we're going to do multiple samples throughout most of our bales here that we want to get off of Jim's field. We want to get these sampled. We want to keep them separate, so we're just going to use bales from Jim's field for this very first sample. Make sure you have a good battery when you do this too. Hopefully we can get it out. All right, since I didn't bring a good battery with me, I guess this is the only sample we're gonna get right now. I'll pop that out and get it ready to go. All right, so I brought our sample kit with me. This is going to Servitech Laboratories, which is in Dodge City, Kansas. And what they're going to do is they're going to go through and test a whole bunch of this hay and tell us what we're looking at. And one of the big reasons is that we do want to make sure what we're supplementing the cows with is correct. Also, this is the same feed that goes to our steers. This is the dry matter that they're eating in the wintertime, so we want to make sure that our winter feed program for them that gets them the most gain is built around this hay as well. So there's some instructions here. This one actually came from FBN. You can check them out, fbn.com. These ones come with a nice little bag, and it's got some information that we're going to fill. I didn't bring a pen with me either, so I'm not very prepared. Producer's name, city, state, description, date taken, all that kind of good stuff. And then they give you a choice of tests to run. So one of the big things I forgot to mention was nitrates. That's something you definitely want to know if your hay is really high in nitrates. But yeah, pasture hay, micronutrients, minerals, feedstuffs, ration formula. So if you're doing any grain, you can get that tested as well. You're also looking at you can do swine feed, all that kind of stuff. So basically, we just take our bag and we take our handy dandy sample thing. The end of it actually comes off. There we go. Pops right off of there. Goes into the bag, a little plunger that we can use to push all the hay into the bag. Try not to spill it all over the place. So there we go. That is our sample that we're going to be sending off, and hopefully everything is hunky-dory with that one. And like I said, every single field that we take hay out of, we're going to do a separate test on, and we will actually take multiple samples, mix them together, and put them into this bag. But since my drill ran out of batteries, I'm not going to be able to do that. So a lot of times what we'll do is bring down a bigger bag, like this bag, which is actually the mailer bag, but it works really good for it. You dump all your samples in here, give them a good shake, mix them up, and then put them into the envelope. So that is what happens with that. We fill it all out, ship it off, and we should have results back within a couple weeks. It doesn't take very long to get them. Our hay yard looking pretty empty right now, but that's going to change pretty dang quick. So I mentioned 371 bales. What did I say? 27 loads going back and forth on the truck. Should give us about 12 stacks just like this. And that will, well, it's not going to fill up the hay yard, but it's going to make it look a whole lot better. In the meantime, I guess we got to get back to work. Keep on keeping on and keep it on making this happen. I know this is kind of a short video, guys, but I did want to make sure that I got some film of the truck unloading, making sure that we're getting this stuff moved into the hay yard. Now, another thing that I guess I could talk about really quick is the fact that multiple hay yards are not a bad idea. Some insurance companies will actually require you to do that. We insure our hay so that if something happens, lightning, fire, whatever it may be, it's insured and it's covered. But what they don't want us to have it all in one spot. So we'll actually take some hay, we'll have it stacked here. We've got hay stacked across the road, and basically just making sure that we're covered in case something does happen to one stack or one hay yard, that we're not, you know, up the creek. We still have something to feed cows while we're waiting for some more hay to come in. The hope is that all the hay that we got this year so far to this point will have us set, that we will not have to buy any hay this year. The worst case scenario that I can see is if we have a really bad winter and we end up feeding our hay really fast. But one of our plans for this late summer into early winter, actually I guess fall into winter, is that we're going to try to keep cows back on winter or summer pasture as long as we can into the winter. So I'm talking maybe even November and December, keeping cows down there long enough that they eat off what's down there. Because like I said, we have a reduced herd size, so we don't have to worry so much about the feed that's down there. They're never going to be able to eat all that stuff off of all that summer pasture. That's enough to feed 150 cows easily for the entire winter or the entire summer. So with only 50 some cows down there, we should be okay, and we're just going to try to stretch that out as long as we can. The one big I guess hiccup in the whole thing is water. Obviously it starts freezing here, especially in November and December. It's going to be freezing at night, if not during the day. So we want to make sure that we have some sort of solution for keeping the water from freezing, and that's going to be kind of an interesting trick, but we're going to be showing that. I've got a few ideas rolling around in my head. We're going to get that figured out, and then hopefully we'll be good to go. Feed will be set, water will be set, cows will be fed, and we should have plenty to get us through the entire winter. So that is pretty much the end of haying, thankfully, just about over with. We get the hay moved here into the hay yard and other hay yards around the area, and we'll be completely done and ready to move on to the next thing. Lots of projects planned coming up here in the next few weeks, including some really cool stuff that we have planned to do with Hustler Equipment. You may know them as the company that makes our feeder that we use to feed these bales. Well, they've got some new stuff coming out, and we're going to have a lot of fun trying out some of their new equipment, as well as rebuilding the chicken house. We've got that on the agenda, and a whole lot more. So we've got plenty to do, and not much time left to do it in. It's what, almost August already, and that means, yeah, winter is going to be here before we know it. Jeff's back. He's got a few more bales that he just grabbed out of Jim's field, so we're going to get him unloaded and get him going on the next field and bringing in hay. That's going to be our project for the next few days. But, oh, I forgot to talk about cost. Really quick, cost of moving hay, because this is something that plays into the whole thing. We figure that if we're moving hay for 8 hours a day, pretty much something is running those whole 8 hours, right? So he's using a tractor to load in the field. He gets in the truck, he drives the truck, he gets out of the truck, and now he jumps in another tractor. So if we say on average, and this is probably way high, I think anyway, but if we said that we're burning 3 gallons of fuel, well, about 2.5 gallons, something like that, of fuel per hour, that we're looking at spending probably about $100 per day as we move this hay around. Let's see if we can catch up with Jeff here really quick as he's getting ready to get going. Does it feel good to be done with haying?
Yes, it does.
I was getting ready to wrap up the video, and then you were like, oh, I hear Jeff coming, so I'm going to stretch it out. So I've been like just yammering on for a while, but I did figure out how much it costs to move hay, which will make people very happy.
Oh, that will throw
yeah. And tell me if you think this is right. So I'm figuring 8 hours a day moving hay, and that entire time, something's running. So whether it's tractor on one end, right, truck, or other tractor. So if I average and say 2.5 to 3 gallons per hour, yep, that's like $100 per day in fuel. So
sounds right.
Sounds right to me. I'm going to go with that. But are you happy to be done with haying?
Yeah.
This is the very last little bit of it, so.
And it's going to take a week.
I hope it doesn't take a week. It might take a week to move all this stuff in here. I don't know. You're not doing too bad, but as we move farther back, then obviously the load times get a lot longer.
Yeah.
You know, you got a lot more road time, yeah, with the whole thing. Also, we're going to ask that you follow along with us on Instagram and Facebook, because the minute Jeff drops a bale off the truck, we're going to put that on. So he better not let me know, or I better not catch him, because I want to be like out there taking pictures like it's Spider-Man. So anyway, that's it. You got a little bit left to do. And
a little bit.
Cool. Well, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys. That's pretty much it for me, too. Jeff's going to get back to work. I'm sure I've got something I can do. I don't know what. I'll find something to do. I got to get this hay sample stuff done. I got to go find a battery and get some more samples done. Jeff's going to finish loading and unloading. I actually have to shuffle him around with fields, because we got to move tractors around. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Stacking hay, the final step of the process. And I can say we're done with hay. Almost. Whenever this is done. Thanks, guys, for coming along with us once again. Thank you for everybody who really was rooting for us this year. We were really hoping to get hay, and we're thankful to get it. And, you know, you can even see here in the hay yard that it's still looking halfway decent. Still a little green in there. Obviously, we're drying up pretty fast, as we haven't gotten any very good rain in a while, but this is still good. Cows are still going to be able to eat this in the field. And I'm happy to see it. So thanks, guys. We'll see you again next time right here on Our Wyoming Life. Hey, look, there's some alfalfa.